Welcome everyone to Unsportsmanlike Conduct. On this episode, we're going to be talking about the NBA, which is finally making its way back. Training camps have begun. Media days are over. It's time to get to work. It's time for the season to come up for the NBA. So season starts in about 3 weeks from now. I'm super pumped for that. We also are going to get into my Week 4 NFL picks. I'm doing this episode right before kickoff of the Thursday night football game between the Jaguars against the Bengals. As I said last time, I'd like the Bengals to win it, but the Jags, I would take them plus 7.5. I think that's way too many points for the Bengals, who are an okay team. I don't think they're a playoff team, but they're improved. And, the Jaguars may be a little bit of a stinky team, but I still think that, with Trevor Lawrence, I think they can put up points. So I'm leaning more towards the plus 7.5 for sure. And actually wouldn't be completely shocked if somehow the Jags got the win because, this is the kind of game where maybe the Bengals start feeling too good about themselves and can get humbled a little bit at home. So, all right, well, that game's about to kick off soon, so won't be able to talk much about it. I'm doing this episode on a Thursday because I am off to Chicago this weekend. I got a wedding to go to. My man Andy Mano is getting married to Megan, so congrats to them. It's going to be an awesome wedding, I'm sure, and I can't wait for that. Before we get into football, I want to talk about basketball. All right, couple things to talk about. First, most obvious one is Ben Simmons. Obviously, Ben Simmons is not happy. He wants out of Philly, which this is just one of these things that I've kind of been thinking about for a long time. It's this whole player empowerment thing that's been going on in the NBA. I'm all for the players deciding where they want to go and where they want to play and live and what they want to do. However, if you commit to a contract of 4 years, you have committed to 4 years of your services to this team in that location, in that city. I am for player empowerment. I'm not for players breaking their contracts. And it seems like we've kind of crisscrossed those two. And now when Anthony Davis had 2 years left on his deal in New Orleans, all of a sudden it was, oh, it's player empowerment. He doesn't want to play there anymore. Well, he shouldn't have signed that deal with New Orleans. It's an open market. When you're a free agent, you don't have to sign a 5-year deal. If you're not sure that you want to be there for the next 5 years and that commitment scares you, then don't sign a 5-year deal. I know that it sounds so black and white, but to be honest, with the way the players' union is and the league and Adam Silver being so player friendly, it doesn't work out so black and white because they want to give these guys and always have them happy. But sometimes it's within you to make yourself happy. You got to figure out what you're committing to. So, I just don't understand it sometimes. I think it goes a little bit too far. If someone commits to a full-time job and only wants to commit to part-time hours, they shouldn't have agreed to the full-time job. And a lot of the time that costs you your job. So, if Ben Simmons, now he has 4 years left on this contract. If I'm the NBA, I would be like, all right, well, if you're not on Philly and you don't want to play for Philadelphia, then you're not getting paid. And for the next 4 years, you can't sign with another team. You can break your contract if you want, but that's just it's not logical in the way I see it. People make mistakes, and maybe the mistake is signing for 5 years, and you got to live with it sometimes. So I just don't, it sounds harsh, but that's just the way I think it should be. Ben Simmons has 4 years left. What is that saying to the organization? Why would the organization want to give anybody a 5-year contract anymore? At that point, I wouldn't want to give out that kind of money. The reason that they're floating out these max deals and $200 million to these guys is because they're expecting them to be around, and they want that sense of security and, I guess, calmness that they know, all right, we got this asset within our organization for the next 5 years. Michael Porter Jr. just signed a 5-year deal, a max deal contract, which I think is a little early for him. But, Denver's doing that with the expectation of, okay, cool, now we signed him. He's going to be with us. We don't have to worry about losing him. But nowadays, that's gone. If next year Michael Porter Jr. has an MVP-type season and all of a sudden he's like, I don't want to play in Denver, now the Nuggets are expected to trade him? No, that's the exchange. That's the exchange for the $200 million. So, again, I am maybe not with the popular opinion here, but I don't like that. I don't think that it's fair to the organizations and to the employer who is giving you these opportunities and compensating you for that commitment. And ultimately, it's your decision if you want to make that commitment or not. So that's the Ben Simmons situation. I think, unfortunately for the Sixers, they're in a bad place. Embiid came out today and said how, pretty much they traded away Jimmy Butler just to make Ben Simmons happy, and that was a mistake, which I actually agree with him. I think Jimmy Butler was a great player. That was the best Philly team I had seen in the last probably 10 years, is when they had Butler over there with them, and they lost on that Kawhi shot, which it was a lucky bounce. I mean, if that hadn't gone in, the Sixers looked like they would have won that game in overtime, and they would have been headed to the Eastern Conference Finals. And who knows, maybe they would have beat the Bucks and gotten to the finals. So it's a mess in Philadelphia right now, and I kind of feel bad for the organization and even for Joel Embiid, who's committed to this team, and now you got to deal with this distraction. So we'll see what goes on there. Another topic that, surprisingly, but maybe not so surprisingly, was brought up was the whole vaccine thing within the NBA. I'll give some thoughts on that. First, I'm just going to play what some of the guys said. So here's a little bit of footage of what Bradley Beal had to say about it, what Jonathan Isaac had to say about it, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
Every player, every person in this world is going to make their own decision for themselves. I would like an explanation to, people with vaccines. Why are they still getting COVID? If that's something that we are supposed to highly be protected from. Like, it's funny that, it reduces your chances of going to the hospital. Yeah, I had it, but that doesn't mean I can't get it again, it's no different than somebody with a vaccine. Like, I developed the antibodies for it, so my chances will be less likely now as well, right? But it's still a possibility I may get it. Just like there are players and coaches and staff who are vaxxed and missing camp right now because of it. So
I'm not anti-vax. I'm not anti-medicine. I'm not anti-science. I didn't come to my current vaccination status by studying Black history or watching Donald Trump press conferences. It is my belief that the vaccine status of every person should be their own choice, and completely up to them without bullying, without being pressured, or without being forced into doing so. I understand that the vaccine would help if you catch COVID, and you'll be able to have less symptoms from contracting it. But with me having COVID in the past and having antibodies with my current age group and physical fitness level, it's not necessarily a fear of mine. Taking the vaccine, like I said, it would decrease my chances of having a severe reaction, but it does open me up to the, albeit rare chance, but the possibility of having an adverse reaction to the vaccine itself. I don't believe that being unvaccinated means infected, or being vaccinated means uninfected. You can still catch COVID with or without not having the vaccine. I would say, honestly, the craziness of it all, in terms of not being able to say that it should be everybody's fair choice without being demeaned or talked crazy to, doesn't make one comfortable to do what said person is telling them to do.
In the spirit of not putting limitations on the future, do you expect to play in home games in New York, considering the rules in this state?
Again, I would like to keep all that private. Please just respect my privacy. Like, all the questions kind of leading into what's happening, just please, everything will be released at a due date. And once we get this cleared up, but as of right now, just please respect my privacy regarding anything around home games, what's happening, vaccination, please.
All right, so this is quite the situation that's about to come up for the NBA and for the league. It's going to separate teams. Guys are probably going to start getting upset with each other and start questioning their commitment to the team and to winning a championship. And then there's the whole, it's our personal decision. So my take is this. I have no problem with an individual who does not want to get the vaccine. I, full disclosure, am vaccinated. That was my decision. I got vaccinated. That's for me to decide. That's for me to keep myself healthy, whatever the case may be, and feel good and be able to do what I want to do. If you don't want to be vaccinated, it's not my problem, because I have my protection, let's just say. And if I don't feel good being around someone that's unvaccinated, that's cool too. I have no problem with a friend of mine, let's say, if I wasn't vaccinated, them saying, I don't want to hang out with you anymore, Christian, because you're unvaccinated. Cool. That's fine. No problem. I also don't have a problem with the NBA requiring the vaccine, which is what they've been trying to do. However, with the players union has been defending the players. Now, I'm just going to touch up on what these guys have to say. Bradley Beal, the whole I'm going to do my own research on it. There's no better research than what the doctors have done and scientists have done. So, I mean, as far as that goes, there's your research. You can research if they actually have their degrees or did their work. But there's no better research than the research a researcher is doing, in my opinion. And second of all, when he says, if I get vaccinated now I can still get COVID, that's where the information gets lost. Obviously, the whole point of the vaccine, from what I've understood, is not that you're not going to get COVID, but if you do happen to get COVID, your immune system is stronger so it can fight off COVID while you have it, so that COVID won't affect you as badly. So, with that being said, when he comes out and says, if I get the vaccine, I can still get COVID, yeah, correct. The vaccine isn't meant to not make you get COVID. The vaccine is meant to protect you from, if you do get COVID, your symptoms won't be as bad and you'll be better protected to fight the virus and won't end up in a hospital. So that was kind of a statement by Bradley Beal that I feel like just was to kind of shut the room up. Now, Jonathan Isaac, he deserves a round of applause. This guy knows what he's talking about. I 100% respect his opinion. He, spoke about how, he's in his 20s. He's an athlete. He's in great shape. He doesn't fear COVID. That's backed by the science. Guys in his age range, in his athletic shape, are not in danger of dying from COVID or, anything bad from COVID. And now I know everyone's going to say, well, what about the others? Well, the others aren't going to be there for him for the small chance that he has a bad reaction from the shot. And, again, his age range, Jonathan Isaac, with his health, has such a minimal chance of being badly sick from COVID. If he gets COVID, he's cool. He's going to be fine. So, his little percentage of being badly affected by COVID is probably around the same little percentage of him having a bad reaction to the vaccine. So I completely back him on his opinion. And if he feels like he shouldn't get it because he feels healthy enough, he feels good, he's right. He did his research. That's what scientists say. That's what the science says. If you look at the numbers, you look at people in his age range, they're not really dying from COVID. The number is way less than 1%. And so for him to bring up, hey, there's people that have had a bad reaction from the vaccine. And even if that's super minimal percentage as well, it's, it's a fair argument is all I'm saying. So I respect his opinion. And then, with Kyrie just saying, respect my privacy. This isn't a private matter, because when it becomes, maybe it should be, but it's just not, at this point when, the Barclays Center isn't allowing people in that aren't vaccinated. It's not private. You have to show vaccination to get in the building. So that privacy is gone. It's not private when, you're not playing in the game and it's like, well, why is Kyrie not playing? Even when you have an injury or when you have a shoulder sprain or anything like that, you're in a league where that information, health is public because it's keeping you from doing your job. So my only dilemma here of what I think, like I said, I completely would back the NBA for requiring it. I think as an employer, they are good to require whatever they want to require. They require people to wear uniforms. They require people to not put certain things in their bodies. So that's fair. So I think if that's their requirement to get the vaccine, I'm behind it. I back it. However, this is where the players union is defending the players. And this is the question that I'll pose. And then there's not much really left to talk about, and we'll see how it all plays out. But the players union has to defend Jonathan Isaac, has to defend Bradley Beal, has to defend Kyrie Irving. The question is, what happens when a Orlando Magic player says, I don't feel safe playing with Jonathan Isaac, who is unvaccinated? Now who is the players union defending? Because as much as it's you want to please everybody, you are never going to please everybody. So even the players union is going to have to make a choice. Now, I think most players, I mean, it's just my opinion, I think most players don't really care if you're vaccinated or not and if you're a teammate. You know, I don't really care if my coworkers are or not vaccinated because I got vaccinated. And even if I had a friend that maybe has COVID, I'm good. I protected myself even without the vaccine. I felt like I would be fine. And so I now have an extra protection with the vaccine. So I'm good. I'm not worried. In the past, if people had the flu, I wasn't really worried to be around them. I felt like my immune system was strong. I work out. I'm in shape. I feel good. But, you know, most of the players haven't said this. They're cool. The teammates are fine. They're like, hey, it's his decision, whatnot. But if this fear of COVID is such a real thing, and it's not just a smokescreen, and one of these players says, I don't want to play with Jonathan Isaac. He's keeping me from doing my job because he's not vaccinated and I'm scared of getting COVID from him. That's where the real dilemma will come up. And I mean, I don't know if that'll happen. I don't know if eventually when Kyrie gets to play on the road for half the games, and then let's say Kevin Durant is super scared of COVID, and Kevin Durant says like, I don't want to be on the court with Kyrie who's unvaccinated, and even though he took a test and tested negative this morning, he could have gotten COVID in the hour pregame, let's say, or on his drive to the arena. He stopped at a gas station and he got it there, and I'm super scared of it. That's where there'll be a dilemma. I don't think that'll happen because I think for the majority of the players, they don't really actually care. I think the majority of players don't actually fear COVID. They're all in great shape. They're in their 20s, early 30s. They're not going to die from COVID. The statistics show it. So I don't think they're actually that fearful. But that would be something really interesting. And that's where the players union at some point is going to have to make the decision. Because right now, some players probably are unhappy that it's not being required. And then you have the guys like these guys who don't want to get the vaccine. So it's going to be a battle. And it stinks that that's what overshadowed NBA Media Day and that it's a story. But that's where we are in this day and age. And, I hope for everyone's sake that they are able to find a good place where they figure it out. But the organizations that have these guys like Kyrie on their team, and if he can't play for all the home games, I mean, are you still paying him? Then what happens? I mean, it's really, really insane. I'm sure more details will come up and surface in the next couple days. But either way, basketball is back. I'm so excited to be able to watch some hoops and get back to it. So we will talk. I'll have another episode next week. We'll do some preseason rankings. Maybe see what I expect teams to be at by the end of the season. Maybe early MVP favorites, all that good stuff. So we'll talk more basketball. But that's it for now on the NBA. We'll get back to it, like I said, next week. In the meantime, week 4 of the NFL is here. Starts really soon with the Jaguars and the Bengals. We've already talked about that game, but I'm going to look ahead to this weekend slate, give you my picks, and see what I think is going to go down. We begin with Washington playing in Atlanta. The Washington football team visiting the Falcons. I did great last week. I'm going to say it again. I went 12-3 on my picks, so I'm feeling good. However, I typically wait till Friday to make my picks. I want to see the injury reports, but like I said, since I'm away this weekend, I'm doing it on a Thursday. And this feels like a tough week for me. There's a lot of games that I didn't know which direction to go, but I took a chance. I got a little risky, and I picked some underdogs that I like. So we'll see how I do this week. But Washington in Atlanta. Washington is favored by 1.5 here. And honestly, I'm taking Atlanta. I think Atlanta, yes, they got an ugly win last week in New York against the Giants. But now they're back at home. Washington got smacked by Buffalo. They have Taylor Heineke starting. I don't think their defense is as good. And Atlanta, they're starting to pick it up. They seem to be the team that starts slow in the season and then starts picking it up. And if they get this win, they're 2-2 in a division where it's Tampa, And Carolina's 3-0, but Carolina might not be as good as their 3-0 record. They've played some questionable teams, and even last week against the Texans didn't look all that great, and have lost Christian McCaffrey for a couple weeks. So give me the Falcons as the underdogs to win that game. The Lions play the Bears in Chicago. Justin Fields, is he starting? We don't know yet. That's why I wish I was doing this on Friday. But I'm going to just, I'm going to pretend Justin Fields is starting. And I'm going to pick the Bears to win this game. I think they're at home. Matt Nagy's job is pretty much on the line. And if Andy Dalton starts, I feel even better about this pick. I think he will give them a better chance to win. I'll take the Bears to win. They're favored by 3, which I'm not going to take the 3 points. I would take the Lions plus 3. I think it's going to be close. I mean, really, based off last game, the Bears didn't show anything that says to me that they'll win this game. But I'm just riding on the fact that I think, another week of practice with the ones for Justin Fields and, Matt Nagy getting maybe a little bit, taking some advice to create some plays to help the kid. I'll take the Bears to win that, and they're at home. Titans in New York to take on the Jets. I'm taking the Titans, and they're favored by 7.5. However, that Titans defense isn't that great. I know the Jets are horrible, but at some point things got to turn around for the Jets. The Titans are 7.5 point favorites. Actually, I'm riding with the Titans minus 7.5. I was gonna give the Jets the 7.5 points at home, but I just think they're really bad. So I'll take the Titans on the road and the Titans to cover. 7.5 is a little high. If it was 7, I'd feel great about it. But with 7.5, I just feel like this is the type of game where the Titans go into New York and just feel overconfident. Maybe the Jets take an early lead, and then the Titans got to wake up in the second half. But, I'll trust the Titans. Give me the Titans. Browns at Vikings. The Browns have been favored by, it started off, I think they were favored by 1 or something like this, but now they're favored by 2.5. I'm definitely going to take the points with the Vikings, and I'm taking the Vikings to win this game. I said last week that would be my last biased pick if the Vikings had lost to the Seahawks, but they came through. They won. They're at home. And I think, the fact that the Browns had just such a dominant defensive performance against Justin Fields and the Bears last week and had 9 sacks, I think that is what actually will help the Vikings this week, because they will focus on that. They, just like when they went into Arizona, remember the Cardinals had just had a game where Chandler Jones had 5 sacks against the Titans the week before, and that offensive line played pretty well against the Cardinals. So I think something similar happens here where, the Browns had such a dominant game on defense last week that I think the Vikings, focus on that, focus on keeping the pocket clean for Kirk Cousins, and I think the Vikings come through and take care of the Browns at home. Colts at Dolphins. I wanted to pick the Dolphins. I really did. But like I said, I was a little risky this weekend. I'm going to go with the Colts just based off desperation. This team is 0-3. Things are not looking good. Meanwhile, the Dolphins, they're not much better, but, they won the game last week. They lost to the Raiders in overtime. So I just think that the Colts are coming into this game desperate for a win. And sometimes that little extra motivation of desperation is what gets it done. So give me the Colts on the road to take care of the Dolphins as underdogs. Panthers, Cowboys. Cowboys are favored by 4.5. I got the Cowboys winning this game. Like I said, I like the Cowboys. I love the way they've been playing. I think they're for real this year. The 4.5 scares me. They're favored by 4.5 points, and I feel like it could be a field goal game. And this does seem like the type of game that the Cowboys usually get overconfident and lose. I think they're going to get overconfident and still win, but not by 4.5. So I think it'll be pretty close. Maybe they win by a field goal at the end. Give me the Cowboys at home to take care of the Panthers. Giants at Saints. I got the Saints at home. The Giants haven't showed anything to make me believe in them, but the Saints are favored by 7.5. I don't think it'll be a blowout by that much. I'll take the points with the Giants, but the Saints to win the game. Texans at Buffalo to take on the Bills. Of course, the Bills, no doubt. No doubt. I got Buffalo to win this game. But the line is Bills by 16.5. That line scares me. It is so high. And when you're when you're playing a team like the Texans with a backup quarterback, a rookie quarterback, I just don't see it being that much of a blowout. I could see this being, a 27-17 game or something like that. So I'm going to take the points, with the Texans, but the Bills will win this game. Cardinals at Rams. The Rams are favored by 4.5 points. Another risky move. I'm taking the Cardinals to win on the road, and here's why. This would be a statement win for the Cardinals. If they win in LA against their divisional rival, the Rams, who look like the best team in the NFL or NFC for sure as of now, that would be a huge statement for the Cardinals. While the Rams, they just had their statement win. They hosted Tampa Bay and they beat the Bucs pretty handedly at home. So, I think because the Rams feel like they got the job done against what was considered the best team in the NFC with the Bucs, they're going to be a little more relaxed. I think they're going to feel good about themselves, where the Cardinals are like, let's make a statement. Let's put our team in that, championship contender category. If the Cardinals win on the road here, it's a huge win for them. So I'm taking the Cardinals to upset the Rams on the road. Seahawks, 49ers. The 49ers are favored by 3. And let me just say this. After watching the Packers-49ers game last week, I don't believe in the 49ers. I don't really even believe in Jimmy Garoppolo. There were so many throws that were questionable. Yes, he drove them down the field at the end, but if you watch the game, there's so many that some should have been interceptions. He just doesn't seem to be in command of what he's doing all the time, and that inconsistency is where I think it, is not good. While the Seahawks, their season's on the line. It's a divisional game in San Francisco. They've dropped 2 in a row. They're 1-2. They got smacked around by the Vikings last week. The secondary got crushed. So I think, they're going to focus. That defense is going to need to focus and turn their season around. And then on the offensive side, you got Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. So I'll take the Seahawks to upset the Niners on the road. Ravens, Broncos, tough game. I really like the Broncos. I do. But I think we're riding the 3-0 momentum here. The Broncos have beaten up on teams like the Jets and, teams that, quite frankly, aren't that good. So, they're favored. The Broncos are favored by 1. I'm taking Baltimore to win this. I know that we like the Broncos, and I like Teddy Bridgewater, but at the end of the day, the Ravens defense can play, the Broncos defense can play, and it really comes down to Lamar versus Teddy. And I just think, I think the Ravens can pull it off on the road. The Broncos have been winning, but like I said, they've been playing pretty bad football teams. So this would be a big win for them. But I'm going to take the Ravens. Give me the Ravens on the road as underdogs. Steelers, Packers in Green Bay. Give me the Packers for sure to win this game. They're playing pretty much a standing branch and Ben Roethlisberger as a quarterback for the Steelers. The Packers, and they're favored by 7, so I'm taking the points as well. If it was 7.5, then I might be a little scared off the points. But Packers to win by 7. Give me that. Chiefs, Eagles. It's in Philadelphia. I don't think it matters. The Chiefs are favored by 7.5. Same kind of thing with the 7.5. They get you with the half. But I think this is the game where Kansas City is like, all right, we need to prove that we are Super Bowl contenders. Andy Reid had a scary moment at the end of the last game, but I think everyone rallies around them. And I think the Chiefs this is where they prove that, they get back on track. They're 1-2. It's time. So I see Mahomes having a huge game and the Chiefs just destroying the Eagles on the road. So give me the Chiefs there. And then this is the game everyone's waiting for. Bucks, Patriots. Bucks are favored by 7. It's in New England. Listen, I trust in Tom Brady, as everyone should. But even if Brady doesn't have a great game, Tampa Bay is loaded. And now they just picked up Richard Sherman. I don't know if he's playing, but, they have so many weapons that they can overcome an okay game from Tom Brady. And I still think Brady's going to have a great game. But even if he doesn't have a great game, I think they overcome a mediocre game from Tom Brady. I think the defense gets it done. Everyone's going to be super focused here to get this win for Tom. On the Patriots side, I think, they want to get the win too. But there's a difference in rallying for Bill Belichick as there is in rallying for Tom Brady. So, and I think the Bucs are obviously the better team. So I already bet them actually with real money like a couple days ago when the line was 5.5. It's now up to 7. So give me the Bucks, and I would take the 7 points also. I think they're going to smack the Patriots. Maybe not by like 20, but, I think they can win by 10 for sure. And then the Monday night game is Raiders in LA to take on the Chargers. Like I said before, the two teams that I believe in this year who weren't expected to be great are the Cowboys and the Raiders. I think the Cowboys will get the job done this week, but barely against the Panthers. But I do not think the Raiders get it done in LA against the Chargers. I think it's a good game. The Chargers are favored by 3.5. I would not take the points. I think it could come down to a field goal or be like a 1-point game. But I think the Chargers get it done. They're a good football team. Herbert is good. They got Eckler at running back. The defense isn't horrible. They played pretty decent against Mahomes and the Chiefs last week and got the win in Arrowhead. So, the Chargers at home, the new stadium. I'll take the Chargers to win this at home on Monday Night Football. The Raiders, still a good football team. They'll be 3-1, but give me the Chargers. That'll do it for this episode. These are my picks for this weekend. Next week, I'll be back. We'll recap all the games from week 4 in the NFL. We're rolling along right now. A month into the NFL season. Basketball is right around the corner. The weather's super nice. So it's my favorite time of the year. And I can't wait for this weekend of football. I will see you guys on the other side. I will take a trip to Chicago and be back. And I'll make sure to keep my eye on all these games. And we'll recap them probably on Tuesday next week. So you guys have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. Leave some comments below. And, enjoy the weekend.